Okay, this video today is just going to tell you in simple terms, does YouTube ads work? And the short answer is yes. What actually it is going to take to make it work every single time for your company when you're trying it out for yourself. There's asking the question, by the way, does YouTube ads work, is like too broad of a question. Like much of any other PPC you do, it's all about certain aspects of it work for different companies, or just in general more so than certain parts work better than others, and this is no different. What I'm actually going to do is show you that it can work, and instead of just randomly trying anything, because there's so many options out there for PPC now, you got to be able to start out with some information when you don't have any experience doing this on where to start and what's the most profitable thing to do. Otherwise, you're going to run out of money before you find out the stuff that works, and that's what this video truly is about. So I'm going to give you the most profitable stuff first to go in with to try for your company. And then, basically from there, what's the second most profitable, third most profitable, and then on down the kind of road or down the line you go. I will start off by saying that generally speaking, YouTube ads aren't the thing that the absolute very first thing you're going to do when you're going to try to start online advertising for your business, because a lot of this, what I'm going to share with you, is built upon assuming you have some traffic going to your site. But not only that, this stuff is going to be able to tell you how to get a totally new person who's never heard of you yet to buy from you, whether you have a product or service, e-commerce, non-e-commerce, it's all the same, it all works. And but with that, generally speaking, Google search ads, Bing search ads are going to work the best because those people are just the closest to buying out of anything that you can use to target a prospective customer online. Whereas YouTube, even though they can actually be searching for something to fix their problem and to buy, they're just not quite as close as somebody who types in buy, insert your product name now, which obviously to that point, that person's probably closer to a purchase, which means the return is going to be higher because the certainty of that person making a purchase is higher than somebody looking for a general answer to their problem that they're having on YouTube, but would be a close second. We'll just put it that way. But really, if you want to sum everything up in terms of PPC, what works and what doesn't work, it's all about what is measuring the certainty of which somebody is going to make a purchase for that product or service, and then targeting those people first. And so sometimes it's going to be Google search, sometimes it's going to be YouTube, sometimes it's going to be, you're going to run Taboola ads, whatever. And as I run an ad agency here, anytime I'm working with a new client, the process is the same. I'm figuring out what's the most sure customers where they're at, because the traffic and the clicks cost money. And so if I have a highest chance possible of making a sale to that prospective person and that prospective audience, I'm going to go there first. But I'm not going to just do one thing. I just understand, it's a little easier for me because I understand the stuff, what the potential is, on YouTube versus LinkedIn, in general. It's a little different for each market still, but the general rule applies more than you think across all markets. You try one thing, and then once that works, you do the next thing, and you use some of the money that you made from the first thing to try out the second thing, which doesn't work right away, but will once you take out the 80% or so that doesn't really work that hot. Then take the money from the 20% you make to do another thing, and pretty soon you've got a multi-million-dollar a year ad campaign that generates multi-million dollars worth of sales every single year, and pretty much on autopilot. And so obviously it's not, your biggest competitor, you see them doing it. They didn't get there in one day. Most people started out the same way as I just described. Whether you're going to be in that top echelon in your market depends on, are you going to put the work in to test some things out and then parlay what you're making back into more ads, because that's what it's really all about. Unless you're starting out with, King Midas here, and you have millions to spend on advertising, which 99% of people are looking to make money from a little money and then make more money from that and so on. That's how you get to be, multi-millionaire selling whatever you're selling there, using PPC ads to build it all up, and respectively, it can if you just go through the efforts of doing it, watch, my videos. understand the basic things that work, how to do each of those things the right way versus the wrong way, or what it generally works, instead of starting out from scratch so you don't run out of money first, like I was saying. So there's a whole bunch of ways YouTube ads work for most people, like I said. I mean, there's 100 different ways to run a YouTube ad. And going a step back, there's a certain way to make a YouTube video that generally works. And there's different videos that you'll make for different types of audiences that you're targeting. But there's a scripting technique that I use that's as close to as what's going to work at the highest rate possible for you. So I encourage you to check that out if you are generally just, or even if you think you have it, just look at it for general ideas before moving on. Because you can't have a YouTube campaign that gets an ROI after all your expenses unless you got the video down. But you got the video down, it's just a matter of understanding these few key concepts of what are the most things that work most of the time. For people doing YouTube ads for the first time, these are the strategies that I would start out with, and therefore transitively you should start out with if you just want to take the easy route. What usually works, don't reinvent the wheel at first, which from my opinion you're basically pretty stupid to get fancy with it right away, because why risk anything? Try it and true first. Once you got that working, now you never are going to stay with one thing. It's just you need some runway. If you get the stuff that works quicker, it takes less runway, takes less money, and you're less likely to run out of money, and then you can start getting into the craftier stuff later on, like I was talking about before. But there's 3 main types of strategies that I'm going to use first, of which is one's, like I was talking about before, is most profitable, then second most profitable, then third most profitable, that kind of thing. And I'll give you some examples of how it works as well as how much it works. So the first one here assumes that you're not a totally brand spanking new company here with no customers, no traffic, nothing. In other words, it's based upon remarketing. So, as I mentioned on a lot of other videos, it's stupid to try to target new people until you've at least got your retargeting, remarketing game down, where the people you're already paying $1, $5, $10, $20 a click to get to your site, or the little bit of organic traffic that you have, you're not cleaning up on it at the maximum rate you can. And if you have no follow-up, you're throwing parts of that traffic just basically in the garbage can. So instead of just driving new traffic in, you need to do some follow-up, because I can guarantee you I'm going to beat you every single time doing a little bit of follow-up versus no follow-up that you may be doing in the market, okay? So video ad remarketing is one thing, though, that a lot of people just overlook. If you ask somebody about retargeting, they're thinking like banner ads. I'll do ad roll, or I'll do a Google Display Network will run a banner ad. Yes, that's one way to do it, and one way you also should do it. But you should also, because remarketing works so well, and the more, I'll just simply put, the more types of remarketing ads you can run, the more, what I would recommend you do is you run some on Google, you run some on YouTube, you run some on Twitter. You run on the maximum territory you possibly can. Why? Because the results compound, and also because your customer who comes to, or prospective customer that comes to your site, they go to different sites. So if you only remarket in one site versus the other, you may not get in front of that potential person. And to get the maximum outcome from that person, you got to get in front of them at least once. Okay. Maybe they don't go to websites, but they have a Gmail, and you want your remarketing ad to show up there through discovery ads. You get my point. So video ads, then the other thing is that people don't really think about the video ads because it's not easy. You could make a display ad, responsive display ad in Google in 5 minutes with a stock image, whatever. Video ad actually takes a lot of thinking and foresight, especially if you plan on actually doing it right, okay? Because not any video is going to work here. And as a side note, I see people all the time trying to do that. Oh, I have a random video on my site. I'll just use that for my video ad campaign. No. Sometimes that'll work, but don't automatically assume that's good enough. That's why I said you help yourself out to look at the video scripting campaign for YouTube video ads. At least see if that could work. If you have a demonstration video, though, on your site, even though that's not made to generate somebody with no interest and turn them into a customer. If you have a demonstration video, you can use that to close the sale, i.e. remarketing with people, and it generally works pretty well. And what this first strategy is about. So what you're going to do, if you don't have them, you're going to create some demonstration videos that are going to demonstrate the use of your product. Could be also a service here. What it is that makes it different, why you should buy it, that kind of stuff, and actually demonstrate it in action. You could do a screen sharing thing where you're recording the screen. You could do a physical product demonstration, whatever. If you offer an e-commerce product line, it could be a service, like I said, and not had done a simple video demo of your products yet. And you're actually going to need to do this on each product. You can't just demonstrate one product and apply it to everything, because that doesn't make sense and doesn't work. This is where I would always start with just my video marketing anyway, before I get into the whole stuff. Get any fancier than that. I'm just going to do a demonstration of that product or that service so I can remarket to people that video. So a lot of people don't, basically in most markets, 10% of the people will only be doing video marketing. So if you're the one who does a video demonstration of your product or your service, and you get it out in front of people who are looking to buy a product in that category, guess what? You're going to be the one getting the sale way higher amount of the time than your competition now once you've actually implemented it. And it doesn't have to be that fancy. Because most people aren't doing it, just because you have a video, you basically by default win, okay? You always got to do better than your competition, but you don't have to do 10x better, okay? At least when it comes to this marketing stuff, whereas the marketing is concerned. And so what this actually I just tell people to do, if you have an e-commerce store, do a product demonstration, lay out the product on the desk, and then just talk through it. And then you do the next product, You put that on your product page, of course, as one of, you usually have the product image, and then there's the different images there. Have one of them be the video is the best way to implement it, or have a video underneath the product image section. A couple different ways to do it, but you're going to take that video and you're going to have that video show up when somebody leaves your site, because not everybody assumes, oh, that's on my product page already, therefore if they wanted it, they would have seen it already. No. A lot of people, they're jittery, they're antsy. They're going to go to your product site and they're going to click back to Google before they read everything, and you'll almost in effect forcing them to recognize all the selling points of your product that you have or service if you follow them up with the demonstration video that you want to follow them up with. As is, you also will run banner ads that talk about the key differences of your product and so on and so forth, whatever there. But we're talking about videos. So, and by the way with this, the higher the cost of your product or service, the more this strategy itself pays. Why? Because with the higher the cost of product or service, the more people generally have to think, the longer they have to think about it. And a video demonstration adds a crap load of trust to the consumer and the sales process for that user that you just also can't get with a text on a page or what have you. It's the ultimate way to convey trust, other than obviously a third-party review or something like that. But something that you could do, it's about as best as you can get, okay? And so if you're spending $10,000, you're going to that video demonstration is going to be more valuable to you than if you spend $1,000. That's my main point here. So if you sell something super expensive, this is going to help you even more than what I'm mentioning here. But here's some basic idea though about how much this actually can help, so you can see for yourself that this isn't something that you want to just kind of leave up to or whatever. It matters a lot. Now, if you sell something that's over $500 even, we'll say, anything above $500, you can make 2 to 3 times as much money from the same exact traffic you have coming in to that product from other ad campaigns, new traffic coming in, by having video demonstrations of that product, of that service, and show up for the user after they leave the site. You could actually do this on, as I mentioned here, in-stream and out-stream. In-stream meaning it's on YouTube, out-stream any other website where your video ad can show up in an ad block. Okay, so basically on Google AdSense, Google Display Network, your instead of having a banner ad show up on a website that has advertising on it, it'll be the video, it'll look like a little video, and they can watch the video there. And with this, you want to do both for maximum coverage. Like I said before, with remarketing, you want to do all the remarketing that's out there that's possible, because it all basically works and all contributes a better return on new traffic coming in. But basically speaking, if you sell something over $500 in that range, you could have one decent demonstration video, which I'll assume that it's average or better here. You can do a demo video terribly, and with that, you can't come back to me and say, hey, it didn't work like you said. 20 to 100% more money or sales per budget and clicks that you have driven into a particular product, which you are now then remarketing or you're going to remarket via video with this demonstration video once they leave the site. And by the way, you want to do this for up to 6 months, okay? Naturally, the Google Display Network, the ad campaign you're running for in-stream and out-stream, once somebody's seen that video, it'll basically stop showing it to them if they're not engaging with it. So it'll kind of optimize it for you, if you will, in a way, but don't assume that if they don't look at it in 3 days, they don't care. 6 months is about my average of what I'm going to optimize it for or run it for. So right away, one decent demo video for that exact product they were looking at that shows up and follows them around for a while, 20 to 100% more sales of that product, which I put halo effect. So really, this is just as a quick aside, a lot of people will look at the video stats in terms of what sales it brings in from that video and people clicking through the video. That's not the main benefit of that video. The main benefit of the video is getting the person who initially came into the product page that you initially paid good money for, closing the sale with that person. So yes, you'll get some people clicking through the video ad, but you'll get a lot more value if you add that plus how many more people that you were initially paying to come to the page that left that now will buy. So you got to look at the full picture. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at what the average sale for that product is as you're testing this. You're going to run the video remarketing campaign, both in-stream and out-stream, and you're going to 6 months later see the difference in sales that you're averaging per day, both before you did that and after you did that. You'll see the sales go up by about 50%. You'll know it works, and you won't. And with everybody else just looking at the ad campaign itself, oh, it didn't make that many sales. I'm not doing it. They're not thinking about how the consumer thinks. If you want to make a lot of money, you got to think about what the consumer needs and wants and how they actually behave, not just what we care about and what I would like to measure it by if they click on it right away. Because basically, people will watch the video, they'll go, interesting. And then when they get paid 2 weeks later, they'll go buy on a different device, which the conversion tracking on that individual campaign that drove new traffic in won't show that that video campaign won't show that you got a sale from it, okay? So I think you get my point here. So that's pretty much guaranteed or given regardless of what you're selling, okay? Assuming it's a decent video, like I said. Now, here's where it gets interesting. 2 demo videos. So you have one video that then they'll see one video, and the next day they'll see a different video. You add 2 videos in sequence to that person who hits your product page of that same product being demoed. You can get another 10 to 50% on top of the total sales that product gets. So whereas you get 20 to 100% on the first one, if you do 2, you'll tack on an additional 10 to 50%. So this compounds. You'll get a diminishing return on the second video, but there's still return there, and there's enough return there to justify what it costs to advertise to that person in the first place. And it keeps going. 3, you're going to have about half of what the second one brought in. 4, half of that. 5, half of that. So you might only get an additional 5% sales growth with the 5th demo video in sequence, but it's, again, still worth it. And then past that, you pretty much, whatever. You don't have to worry about it. And so it's up to you. How far do you want to go? The further you go, the more you're going to make. If you can't do it, test this out. Find out how much it makes for one item. Then hire somebody to come in. That's all they're going to do is just bust out these demo videos. Like I said, all the products are sitting there. The person's going to demo it. Next. Next. And when you do these different demo videos, you're going to, they're not all going to be the same, or you're not going to get these numbers. do a standing demo. Then maybe you're gonna, if you have a paint product, you're gonna go out and show how the paint's being applied. Then another video is gonna show it after it's done, what it looks like before and after, stuff like that. So they're each distinctly different, but you gotta think about what are the main things the consumer thinks about when they're buying that would convince them. And if you don't know, go to the salespeople or go to your email and see the questions people are asking and make the video answer those questions itself in the video. So that, because any unknown things that people think about that aren't answered in the sales process are going to hurt your sales. So your goal is just to take the video and answer what you know that they're thinking already at that point then, so they don't have to question it anymore, and therefore they're more confident, and therefore they'll buy at a higher rate now that you've done that. But you have to do it for each product, and yes, that's going to be a crap load of videos to do, but if you could 2 or 3x the sales on every single item in your store, you know, for a lot of people, that's another $2 million a year in sales just by making demo videos of all your products. If you have 10,000 items, maybe that's a bit tough, but if you have 50, but even if you have tons of items, it's all relative. Just run the math, see what it's going to cost to bust all those videos out, and then do the cost-benefit analysis. Don't just outright, oh, it sounds like too much work, because that's what your competitors are going to do. And that's why this makes so much money, because you're going to be the one that's going to think about it rationally and logically, do the cost-benefit analysis of what you're doing here, and if it makes sense, you're going to do it, not just get emotional about it. So anyway, that's the first thing that almost every single time is going to get you more ROI so good ROI on the campaigns themselves. The front end, what it shows on the campaign should show ROI in and itself anyway, but if you look at the whole picture of what sales that item brings in now overall, with the halo effect I talk about, it really pays and will work basically every single time you do it, like I talked about. Second, now we're talking about just on YouTube for the second one. What you're going to do is you're going to type in like how to, and there's something that your product or service fixes. So if let's say you sold a suitcase, okay? And the suitcase, you know those suitcases that when you bring to the airport and the wheels spin around, people want to know, how do I buy a suitcase that will have wheels that'll do that? Somebody's asked a question there about on YouTube. You sell a suitcase that does that. You type that in YouTube, and then you'll copy the URL for each video where somebody talks about that, how you actually find a product or how to solve that problem. You make a list, and then you're going to advertise, if you have that suitcase, in the middle of that video when that video plays from now on, every single one that's like that. So, and yes, you can actually run a YouTube ad campaign that actually targets just a manual list of just these 10 videos. If they're not on these 10 videos, I don't want the ad to show. You can literally do that. It's different than what most people are going to tell you, which is to say, oh, just advertise anytime they're looking for this topic. No, we're going to get super specific here. It's not going to spend a ton of money, but the ads that show up there, they're money. Quick, easy money. You'll get the same ROI or better than any other Google search or shopping campaign is going to deliver with this, but therefore it'll work basically every single time for you. Just to put it into frame of reference, but this is what you're going to do. So basically, they're watching a video on how to find a suitcase that will have spinning wheels on it. And then boom, right in the middle of the video, we have a suitcase that has spinning wheels. Look at this. And then you're just like, oh, well, my question answered. I'm going to go buy this thing right now. So you can get why this works so well. There's only so many opportunities, but before we do everything else, don't think about things like, oh, it doesn't scale, so I'm not going to do it. If you try to think that way, you'll run something that gets a lot of volume, but there'll be no ROI, your money's gone, and then you'll be pissed. Start with the stuff that works, that may not have a lot of volume, and then later on, once you've run out of those things, then you could slowly test out the stuff that will have potential to be tons of volume, but you'll have to run it a long time and optimize it a long time before it actually gets you an ROI. So that's that. It's the third strategy I'm going to talk about, the final one, because competitor campaigns. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a list of all your competitors. So people that sell a similar product to you or similar service as you. Okay? Respectively, this more so works with products, but it does work with a lot of services out there too. So just say both, but just throw that disclaimer out there. Once you've done that, you're going to create a custom intent audience in your Google Ads account that have all the competitors in which so you'll create a separate one for all the competitors in which you know your product or service is better than theirs. Then you're going to create a second audience, which is the rest of the competitors that where you're worse or you feel like you're inferior to them feature-wise, or about the same. Okay? What you're going to do then is it's also in stream here. So on YouTube, you're going to have your demonstration video here show up for that. And again, this has to be by product. So going back to the suitcase situation, all the other suitcases that have spinning wheels there, if they're on YouTube, okay, and so in other words, in order to create this audience, to go one step backwards here, you're going to write all the competitors, the name of their products, what they call those spinning wheel suitcases, the name of their product, the name of their company, if they only sell that, the name of their legal name, their trade names, and their URLs itself, which are all ways to describe the company that sells that product, or you're going to drill it down to just that product name if you have to, because they sell a whole bunch of items. You're going to create a custom intent audience with all those, because what it's going to do is going to tell Google that you want your video ad to show up anytime somebody has went to that competitor's product or searched for it recently. So in that situation, you know that they're looking for a spinning wheel suitcase. Okay, well, I want to target people who just are looking for the exact item that I sell, which they're in market. The other person paid good money to figure out that they're in market. Now I'm just going to get in front of them between the time that they searched for that and the time that they got paid and decided to buy it or whatever, and just try to divert them. And so that's what you're going to do. And so they're on YouTube. They're watching a podcast, whatever. In the middle of the podcast, now your spinning wheel suitcase shows up. You're hoping that your product is going to seem just a little bit, it's just going to be a teeny bit more compelling than the other one that they were already going to buy, okay? Or it goes a little bit further so it looks compelling enough that you actually finally got them to say, fine, yes, I am actually going to buy this item. And you got them, basically, at that point. So with that, you already know then, and you could actually separate this out so you have a separate audience for each competitor product. Why would you want to do that? Because you can adjust the bids manually, which I always recommend manual bidding. And based upon the audience, which competitor's product they were looking at, we can see how well that traffic segment converts on our video versus another competitor product audience, and then adjust the bid up or down based upon how well it converts. You'll get more volume at the ROI that you want that way than you will grouping everything together. So you could decide to take it to that extra level or not, but you get the general idea. And obviously, at the very least, you want to put the people where you're better than the competition. You want to bid differently for that than the ones that the competition you feel is better. Because obviously they see a demo video. Maybe you'll get a few sales from people that they think that yours is better even though that it's not, just because you are getting in front of them and reminded them, or you repeated your name enough to where they now think you're the better option, which happens a lot. But then, so that traffic, in other words, is worth a little bit different than the ones that you actually are better at what you do than what's out there already. And so you could assign different bids. Yes, this one's only worth 10 cents per click, but this is worth 50 cents. But I'll take the sales that we get, the traffic at what we can get from this one that doesn't convert very well, even though it's a little bit. I'll take whatever few sales I can get. That's how you get all the customers in your market that's available through PPC ads, and without compromising ROI, by the way. So you do that, that's going to work the best. Going a bit further here, you can also you can create custom intent audience segments for people that sell a solution that's similar to yours. So if I sell a suitcase that is a hard shell suitcase, okay, so I'm going to target other people that have a hard shell suitcase. Now there's soft shell suitcases out there, which you know because you're in that market. The people who look for a soft shell suitcase, they're not really in the market for a hard shell suitcase. So, but in that situation, it's closed. So we're going to create a list of other people selling a similar suitcase as mine, but it's technically soft shell, not hard shell. And we're going to have our video show up during the videos that they, once that person's went to that competitor site, later on they're watching a different video and our ad shows up for them there. Maybe they get to where they'll consider a hard shell suitcase, maybe they won't. But I would recommend that you do that, and as you're making your list of people that are what I call indirect competitors, they're people that where you solve the same problem as them, but it's just in a different category of solution, if you will. And the people that are having their solution is similar priced as yours, you'll group those together because that'll convert at a different kind of amount or percentage. Then there's going to be the competitors that are at a higher price point than yours, a much higher price point, more than 50% or 100% higher than yours. And then you'll create a separate final segment, which is people that are much cheaper than yours. And so you may think, well, if they're much cheaper than mine, they should definitely not convert as well. Well, sometimes people are willing to pay more if you think they're really getting a lot of quality. Sometimes being the cheaper one, you're going to get most of the sales because people don't give a crap about quality in that market. So long story short, like I was talking about before, it's all about assessing what the value is for each one of these traffic segments, assigning a unique bid for what it's worth, and not excluding anything, but being precise enough so that you're going to get the maximum sales you can out of the indirect competitors that have generated demand, in which you're going to now tap into as you can. So obviously targeting indirect competitors is not going to be as profitable as people that are direct competitors, but close. So there's some value there as well. Now, generally speaking, whether it's a direct or indirect competitor that you're targeting, in which they went to their site and now they're on YouTube, they're watching whatever video, you're going to have a video show up within that video. There's a way with the custom intent audience segments that you can create an audience segment for people, like I was talking about before, how you create a custom intent audience for people who are a direct competitor of yours in which you're better, right? But you can do that, but you can also say, if they're a direct competitor in which I know I'm better than them, I'll have it as one audience segment, but also I want a second audience segment I'm setting up for somebody who is a they were looking at a direct competitor's item in which I know I'm better, plus they're watching a video about suitcases that swivel at the same time. So that it just makes it so that the potential of that person converting once they see my video being a little bit higher than somebody who is watching a podcast video, but which I still know was on somebody else's site that I'm competing with that has a suitcase that has swivel wheels on it. So that way you're taking it one step further in terms of adjusting your bids. So, now if somebody is watching a video about suitcases with swivel wheels while they were at somebody's site recently who also, has a product like yours. So they're not only now actively looking for a product like yours, but they also were recently looking for it, meaning they're exhibiting signs of being even more serious about buying. You want a unique bid in that case as well. So I added here, if they were looking for a video that's in your general, realm of what that product is, I'm going to bid differently than if they're just watching a random video, like I gave before the example with the podcast, whatever. So if they were on a direct competitor site, but they're also watching a video that's related to the product that I want to sell them, then I'm bidding one figure or one amount. But if they're been on a direct competitor site, but they're watching a random video, I'm going to bid a different amount because they're going to convert very differently. But in general, instead of just randomly targeting people, you knowing that they were in the market for a direct competitor's item, I could tell you right off the bat that that's going to convert much, much, much better than somebody just looking for a random video about a suitcase if you sell a suitcase. That's why I recommend going here first. If you were successful with this, maybe you just advertise on videos about suitcases and get some value out of that, but it's a lot harder to make that work than if you know for a fact that they were at a direct competitor site and you use that as a part of your formula here. How that differs from what I said here before, that's now you could target a video where they're not been on a direct competitor site, but only if what your product does, what the main solution is and what it offers and what it does for the consumer to fix their problem is the exact problem that they're looking to solve on YouTube. In that case, they don't have to have been on a direct competitor site to convert very well. From what I've found, they'll convert well on their own. So if I sell a suitcase that has a swivel wheels, which that's its main feature, and they're looking for how to get a suitcase with swivel wheels on it, I'm targeting that. But if I'm looking, what are the best suitcases to buy, I'm not going to target that video specifically unless I know that they were on a direct competitor site which had swivel wheels on it, or somebody who has a suitcase that basically also has swivel wheels, but it's a little bit different. So you get my whole kind of point here. It's all about, if you want to sum it all up, it's about rank stacking the different people with different traits. So you're going after people that exhibit more signs as being somebody's likely to buy than others, and starting with the ones that are more statistically likely to buy first. Like I said, and going full circle at the start of this video, parlaying the money you make from them to do stuff that's higher up the funnel, basically, is as they call it in the marketing space. And figuring out what you can grab from there, excluding the parts of that doesn't work, then using that money to go up the chain, further up the funnel and keep going. But respectively, for just about every market and company that I work for, these are the things that we're doing, okay? So if sometimes they'll skip two because they're not looking for the exact, it's not a problem, but they have to know how they're trying to find out how to solve the problem. It's universally known, so we won't be able to do this. Where it is, we do this first. We'll do this and then this, and where we can't do this, we'll definitely still do three: direct competitors and indirect competitors. Direct competitors first, then the indirect, and definitely segmenting out if that person's actively watching a video regarding the product or service that we're offering, while also being somebody who is interested in a direct competitor solution versus somebody who is just been on it and shown that they were interested in a direct competitor solution, but it was on some random video. We almost always then also target that, and that'll work to some degree. Once all that stuff works, yes, we can go outside the envelope there and figure out, can we actually find people who we sell a suitcase? If they're looking for any kind of suitcases for sale or reviews, we'll try to target them, but that stuff works way, 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 way less. And so this all seems kind of overkill to try to get it to work, and it's maybe tempting to you to just go in there and spend 10 minutes setting up a campaign. It's a lot harder than you think to get traffic that's not remarketing traffic to work. So if you take my information here, yes, it's going to be more work to set up, but it generally will work, okay? And at the very least, if it doesn't work right away, you'll be in position with slight tweaks that it will work at the ROI that you likely need to pay for your product cost and your overhead and shipping, whatever it takes to get that product to the consumer or to deliver the service. So anyway, that's the whole video in a nutshell. If YouTube ads actually work, yes, they do, and how to actually get them to work every single time that you want to go about running a YouTube ad for your business. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other money-making PPC strategies. If you haven't seen any of them before, you should definitely check them out. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog, which has step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that work and are guaranteed to work for practically every single time that I use those. If you like information along the, in that kind of format, you should check that out potentially as well. If you like my video and have any questions or comments about anything I did, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel within a day or two. And so I hope you got some value out of this video and go out and are able to make some money with your first or future YouTube video ads for your business as well.